You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, along with let me try that again. All right. Well, along with a new
Lava,
set,
lava, lava.
blah 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 blah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hit List Podcast, the show where Pokemon nostalgia meets today's collecting culture. And welcoming back to the show is our Tuesday co-host, Captain Jack.
Yep, we're back for round two. Lucky you guys. So happy to be here. Thanks again, Mike, for hosting.
Today, we're going to go over Mega Evolutions, the art style, and let's dive into a little bit of the playability. Also, we're going to answer a question from the chat, and let's try and get that to be a more regular thing. And any questions you guys have, we'll answer them at the end. All right, with diving into Mega Evolutions, I think one of the first things that Jack and I have wanted to cover with this new set coming out is the different types of art that are out there. And one of the more common themes in illustration rares recently has been the connected art. So I think we'd be remiss if we don't talk about the Moshu's Bulbasaur line, especially since the Bulbasaur itself got the stamped promo on top of the box. How do we feel about these box topper promos as well while we're diving into this?
I I think the box toppers I think the box toppers are awesome. Personally. I wish they would do them for every set. I think they're really cool. It's interesting because sorry, one sec. Yeah, it's interesting because with the box toppers, you also have the same they're doing the same illustration rare as something you can actually pull out of the set, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always interesting to me to see, like, not that like I focus on the value too much, but it's just interesting for me to see, okay, the stamp version is less valuable than the one that is harder to get because you have to actually pull it, but then like later on the stamp promo ends up being more valuable than the one that you have to pull out of the set because you can't get the enhanced booster boxes anymore, and it just creates like this whole kind of wheel and cycle with that stuff. But I like the box toppers. I wish they would keep them and do them every set. I think they're really cool.
I gotta admit, I'm
Um,
a little surprised they didn't do it for Black Bolt and White Flare. They had a opportunity to do it for both. They also didn't do it for Destin Rivals.
well, Black Bolt White Flare didn't have booster boxes
That's a
because
good
it was a
point.
specialty set. But yes, Destin Rivals just felt like we talked about in the last episode. Just felt rushed all around.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't do alternate arts for the pre-release promos. They didn't do booster box toppers. It just felt like they just were like really trying to shovel that thing out the door and move on to Black Bolt White Flare, which is unfortunate because they could have done like a really cool, like, I don't know, Eradicate box topper or something for Destin Rivals.
It doesn't even matter what it was. It would just have been interesting. I feel like we had a couple Destin Rivals stamped items, of course, with the boxes, the build and battle boxes, but for the most part, it was just very odd to have Journey Together have it. Then, like you said, I guess it was rushed. Then Black Bolt, White Flare didn't have it. It'll be interesting to see if they do it for Phantasmal Flames. I'd say probably just because they're pushing out so much product. Why wouldn't you add that into that? But I think I think that we see it again. I really do.
I I actually don't think they're gonna do it on Phantasmal
You
Flames.
don't think so?
I don't think so. It feels like it's like a kick off the block kind of thing they're doing because like Journey Together is still Scarlet Violet, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's also like the first of the named Pokemon sets between Destined Rivals and Journey Together, and also Phantasmal has that UPC coming out with it. So it's got a bunch of other like extra goodies they're already piling on with the Charizard promo and the Oricorio promo that's going to be in the UPC, which we haven't talked about that. Shinji Kanda Oricorio is not in the set. You can't pull it. It's only in the Charizard UPC, which I thought was interesting because they did the Moltres UPC for Destined Rivals, but they gave it the Destined Rivals stamp, right?
Oh, that's a good point. We can
But they
consider
didn't.
that
There's
the
no
stamp.
stamp on that Oricorio from the Charizard UPC. So
Right.
Shinji Kanda, Oricorio, big name artist. The only way to get it through that UPC, I don't know if that's going to be a problem or how that's going to pan out.
Oh, it's going to be a problem. I think when we talked about the last Charizard UPC and the three cards from that going absolutely insane, I don't think there's any realistic way that this doesn't do the same thing,
Yeah,
especially that Charizard. But I think because Shinji Kanda did the Oricorio, I think that is going to send it to the moon immediately. I mean, you're already seeing on the Japanese side that Oricorio is insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, man. The
Uh, but
Shinji Kanda effect.
but going back to this Bulbasaur line, I like this connected art. I like that it's to me it's an improvement over the 151 version because the 151 didn't really go together that well. They tried, but it kind of doesn't. This one is a clear picture of it going from Bulbasaur all the way to Venusaur. And that's one of the things I've actually really liked about these connected arts is the improvement they've made over time of them not just being close enough that you could say, yeah, that's connected to these are absolutely connected.
Yeah, it's a lot of people bring up like the Latios by Okacheke from Surging Sparks
Hmm.
and that Mesprit. The Mesprit does not go with those two cards.
Right.
Everybody thinks it does. It does not. It's a different artist. It has its own sun in the backdrop. You can't have two suns in the same mural art. But yeah, those don't go together. So having the same artist do the same connecting cards and having them go together seamlessly like that, which we'll talk about another two here in a sec, is always awesome. What I was hoping for with the Bulbasaur line is that we would get like a similar line of connected arts for Charizard, and then in the next set after that for the Mega Blastoise, we get like
Hmm.
a connected line too. That doesn't seem to be the case with Phantasmal Flames dropping that SIR Zard, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to get connected arts for Charizard. We could in the future, maybe. I don't know. But for this next set, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But I do like the Mashu Bulbasaur line. Mashu also did the Lavani and the Larvesta illustration rares from Black Bolt and White Flare. For you guys who aren't familiar with Mashu, they don't have a ton of cards. I think we were talking. It was like 10 cards. Was that all?
Yeah, 10 cards total. And we've talked about this before that you kind of earn the right to get an SIR right as an artist. It's
Yeah,
very interesting to me that they started out with the Galvantula from Shrouded Fable,
yeah.
and their next card was the Terrapagos from Terrastal Festival or Prismatic Evolution.
Prismatic. Yeah,
What a jump. And then from that point, of their 10 cards, most of them are full art or illustration or SIRs. That is an incredible path.
yeah. It's gonna be cool to see what they do in the future and moving forward. It already seems like they have a pretty good variety with their styles and how they like to do things, which I always find. That's one of the reasons I like Jerky so much.
Hmm.
Because like Jerky has that Pidgey outline from Obsidian Flames. It's very like cartoony, kind of dumbed down. But then they go out and do some other crazy stuff that's just completely left field from what they've done in the past. So,
Yep.
um,
I feel that Jerky Line's a great example of what connected arts were before. Yeah, like those were connected in the way of they had to do with each other, not necessarily that the art went together.
right,
Um,
it was more storytelling, right?
right. And
Like the
we're
Gardevoir from SB Base, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Um, I like the storytelling ones too, but now that we're starting to see these connected arts, I really like it. And speaking of connected arts, from this set we have another one, but actually it's going in a different direction. And you brought this up, I believe it was in our Discord chat. I think you sent a picture and said, I knew they went together.
yeah.
Uh, it's that Shedinja and the Najask by
Tetsu
Tetsu
Koyama. Yep.
Koyama.
Yep. We were opening Mega Evolution for stream, and I brought up that those two cards were done by the same artist, and I saw them left to right, and I thought the vines connected left to right, and I was like, I swear these go together. It's two iconic Pokemon evolved from the same Pokemon, Shedinja and Ninjask, and turns out I was right. They do go together, but they go top to bottom and not left to right. So if you have the Ninjask and the Ninja illustration rares from Mega Evolution, they do go top to bottom. Ninjask is on top. So put them together. If you have them, go grab them right now, put them together, and you'll see they are in fact connecting artworks, and they go together seamlessly, like we were just talking about. They're not like some of the other ones that just tell a story. They actually connect.
I think this is great for people who are the binder builder variety of correct collectors, because these binder builders having a story was really cool, but to have a piece of art like this that's connected in the corner while doing whatever you want with the rest of the page, it looks so clean.
Yeah, that's how I do my binders. Yeah, I have a really good time with it. Koyama also did the Knocked Owl from Stellar Crown, the ETB promo.
Hmm.
If you guys aren't familiar with that, there was another one they did that we were talking about, Mike.
Oh,
What
the
was it?
Salvatore from Temporal
Yeah, yeah,
Forces
yeah.
with all the
That card
throwback.
is a lot of Easter eggs in that card. If you look closely on that card, you'll see like the little sprites for Clefairy on the bulletin board as he's running out of the room. So yeah, very cool card. Yeah,
I almost like that card looks as if it's like a knitted piece of art. It's just
yeah,
it's so different. It, it's such an interesting style. I love seeing different artists have such vastly different style in their art, and Kiyama's definitely up there on different.
yeah.
The next art we really wanted to talk about is this Lucario SIR. Jack had the luxury of pulling it the other day and throwing it in my face.
I did not throw it in your face.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just said, "Hey, this happened today." Just a heads up. Um, yes, the Lucario by Furusawa. Yes, very cool artwork. I personally had a long talk with Mike about this card before the set dropped, and how I was not initially a very big fan of this card. I didn't like the impracticality of the Venusaur soaring through the sky as it was fighting a Lucario. Call me a realist or whatever you might want to, but that bothered me a little bit. And I was like, it's a cool card. It's just not one of my favorites. But after pulling it and seeing it in person, I can say that I am, in fact, sworn to the Furusawa Lucario. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs in that card I didn't realize were in there. If you look closely in the background, there's almost all the Megas from the set fighting each other in the background. But the one that really caught my eye that I didn't notice before was the Latios, because it's going like down to the bottom right of the card, but it's like in an angle where it looks like it's part of that like graffiti that they do for megas. You know what I'm talking about, like the swooshes and stuff. So I always thought that Latios was just a part of the mega swooshes that are going off of Lucario's fist, but that's a Latios like right there if you look closely enough at it. And I thought that was really cool. So once I saw the little Easter eggs and stuff, yeah, Furusawa's just been killing it, dude. Did the Ho-Oh from Destined Rivals. Um, does a lot of like full art trainer cards too, I believe. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't remember what else they've done. I think there was like did they do a full art Lilies? I know they did the Dawn SIR we get in Phantasmal Flames.
Oh, that'll be
Yeah,
nice.
that's
I
a really
do
nice
know
card.
that they did, as we love to call him on chat, Professor Thirst Trap, uh,
Well,
Professor Turo's Scenario SIR.
yeah,
A very interesting card as well. Once again, it's almost like even in the trainer cards, Furusawa loves to hide little details, little Easter eggs. Like in the Turo Scenario, having that Cyclizar just chilling in the background.
yeah, yep. They did do the full art Lily's Determination for Mega Evolution. Oh, they also did the Pikachu ETB promo from Paldea Evolved.
Yeah, that I still am gonna stand by that card is going to go to the moon at some point. I
Yeah,
don't know
surprisingly.
when. It's the same thing with the Crown Zenith Pikachu Secret Rare that forever just sat at $10 and now it's 40.
Yeah,
That same thing is, and it's probably going to be worse than that one because you
especially
can't
if you
pull
got
it
a
from a main set.
Pokemon Center stamp on it.
Oh, that Pokemon Center stamp is going to be absurd.
Oh,
But
little fun fact: Furusawa also did the Vaporeon VMAX promo that was from Evolving Skies. All those alt arts back in
mhm.
Sword and Shield. Um, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that he did that one as well.
I know one of the other cards that you also pulled at the same exact time as Lucario is the Mega Absol or
Yeah,
Batman
the
Absol.
Batman. I'm Batman. Dude, I love that card, man. I like that card more than the Lucario. Fight
Honestly,
me. I
honestly, I
love it.
kind of did off the bat. I I've told you I really like the Lucario the whole time, but
Yeah.
that Absol, as I started to look at it more, the almost faded camera look to it is
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
It's so good. And what you can't really see from the scans is like the texture on it because it's so like the shading's so dark and everything. But like if you can get it tilted in the light just right, dude, it's so cool. It's just a very cool card. And big shout out and throwback to the Noivern, Batman Noivern from Evolving Skies, who was also done by Mitsuhiro Arita. For you guys
The
who don't know,
OG.
there's kind of a running joke at the Poke Post where I quiz people every time Mitsuhiro Arita comes up just to make sure they stay on their game. But Mitsuhiro Arita did the OG Charizard from base set and has been doing it ever since the first set of Pokemon dropped. Just a real legend and just a pleasure to still see artwork being pumped out by the OG Mitsuhiro Arita.
One of
Back
my
in the day, man, it was just Arita and Ken Sugimori. They were like the only two artists that did all of the artwork for all the sets. So to see him out there still just crushing it is awesome.
One of my favorite things about Arita is when he does his autographs, he does the Charizard head with it.
Yeah.
And it's so unique, and he seems like he's just such a good guy and loves this community. And like you said, it's pretty cool to see somebody who's been doing this for so long adjust and adapt with the times to be able to just put out incredible cards still, and not just the little window pictures that we,
Yeah.
grew to
Yeah,
love.
I mean, you look at like the Blastoise line from 151, Mitsuhiro Arita did that, and it's a far cry from what they did with the OG starters, with the Charmander, Charizard line back in the day, and it's just like the evolution of Arita's artwork over time is just really, really cool to see, and something that we probably take for granted more than we should because it's not every day you get to literally see an artist's like life span of work over the course of 2 decades and how it's changed and evolved, and it's just really cool.
I do wish that we still had Ken Sugimori doing art with us.
Yeah.
But it is pretty cool to still have one of the true OGs with us.
Yeah. I
Yep.
agree.
The other card you had mentioned you wanted to talk about, or specifically the artist behind it, was the Acerola's Mischief.
Yes. Yes, very cool card. My sister's chase card. She was heartbroken when the set dropped because it was like a $200 card out the gate and she didn't want to drop $200 to get it. And I told her the same thing I told everybody else last week in our last episode. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. About the FOMO, how it's going to drop. Be patient, give it time. And now it's a $50 card. So, shocker, we kind of hit that one right on the head and knew what we were talking about. But that's pretty common base, guys. For anybody looking at some of these cards when they drop and seeing how expensive they are, just give it time. But yes, Acerola's. What is the full name of that card? Acerola's.
Thought it was Mischief, but let me
Is it Mischief? I think you're right.
it is.
Ace, okay, yeah, Acerola is one of my favorite trainers, man. But yeah, like I said, my sister's chase card. She's a huge Mimikyu fan. That's her favorite Pokemon. So my favorite part about this card is by Sui. Sui did the Espeon from Prismatic Evolutions, the SIR version of that card, which is in itself a great card. Looks great, right? But there's not a whole lot to it. It's kind of just an Espeon with its crown, kind of like walking down, you know. But the Acerola's Mischief, the reason I love that card so much is because it literally shows Acerola knitting the Mimikyu costume and tells the story of like setting her Mimikyu up with the costume and everything, and just it's more like an origin story, and it's really, really cool to see Sui kind of like move away from, okay, I've got to fit into this puzzle piece of this is one of 9 evolutions of Eevee, and I have to kind of make it look like it goes with the rest, into I'm going to do my own thing now in this Acerola SIR and tell an origin story of Mimikyu and Acerola. And I'm really, really excited to see more from Sui moving forward because they don't have a ton of artworks out right now, but when they do drop them, they're usually bangers. And I think the Acerola Mischief just knocked it out of the park. Very cool card. So
I
keep
think
an
it's
eye out for Sui.
I think that brings up a really interesting point in collecting, and I touched on a little bit of collecting artists' work is another way to do this. And with Sui, a lot of their work isn't full art. It isn't SIRs. It's just a lot of regular cards that just have really interesting art to them. So very affordable to get yourself into trying to get all of their work. But if you really appreciate the art, just go and find it. You can find these regular commons, uncommons that have great artwork on them still. And it's a wonderful new way to expand your collection.
Yeah, and you'll start to notice too when you open packs. You'll be like, I know that's a Kamiya card, or I know that's Shinji Kanda, or just like you'll know based on what you've seen with their other artworks when you start to kind of broaden your view on collecting as a whole and start to pay attention to these artists. So, yeah,
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, the Yveltal from the new set
yeah,
by Okagi. I mean, beautiful card, and we more so talked about the playability of it, but to get a really cool artwork like that is just a regular rare is pretty nice too.
yeah, definitely. And as a player, like I get excited when I get to like see playables by some of my favorite artists. I'm like, hell yeah, dude! I get to put that in my deck and flex with that. It's cool. I should say flex. It's not like it's an SIR, but you know what I mean.
One of the sections I'm going to add to our Tuesday talks here is Jack's feature artist of the week. And since we're continuing with Mega Evolutions here, Jack has picked a wonderful illustration rare and artist for us to dive into.
Yes. So when I pulled that Absol and Lucario, I pulled another card. The Vulpix illustration rare from Mega Evolution by Sino Misaki. I have a great appreciation for Misaki's work going all the way back to the Sword and Shield era. Some of my favorite cards from Sword and Shield are by Misaki. If you guys aren't familiar with Misaki, Misaki did the Flaffy from Silver Tempest Trainer's Gallery. One of
Oh,
my
I know
favorite
that one
cards.
has a special
Oh,
place in your heart for
yeah,
playability too.
Stay Flaffy. Yeah. Featuring Elisa doing the Flaffy's hair in the mirror. There's also a Mimikyu V from Brilliant Stars that's textured that is also from the Trainer Gallery done by Misaki, as well as the Mawile V Trainer Gallery with texture from Silver Tempest. So a lot of cards from the Sword and Shield era from Misaki, who's really been doing this for quite some time. But the Vulpix hit pretty different when you see it in person, and I really wanted to touch base on Misaki because I feel like they don't get a lot of love when we talk about artists. It's always Tizero and Akira Igawa and Mitsuhiro Arita. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch on Misaki. Misaki also did the Lily's Cutie Fly from Journey Together, which I know is a lot of your guys' favorite outside of like Articuno from that set. Also just some like non full art and illustration rare cards. The Goldeen with the fireworks from Terrestrial Festival and Prismatic Evolution that looks awesome with the Pokeball Master Ball texture. That was done by Misaki. So yeah, just a really cool artist I wanted to touch on that's been around for a while that we don't talk about as much. So that's my artist of the week, Sino Misaki, who did the Vulpix illustration rare. Keep an eye out for it. Keep an eye out for it in Mega Evolution.
All right. Well, with along with a new set, also comes new cards for playability in the TCG game itself. So we got to cover that as well. What's
Yes.
Captain Jack cooking?
Yeah, Captain Jack's Lab, baby. My favorite Mega Evolution deck to play right now is Alakazam. So if you guys went to pre-releases and got an Alakazam stamp promo, you were probably really sad because it was garbage at pre-release. It was probably the worst pre-release promo you could get. What nobody saw coming was that this deck is actually kind of viable in the standard format. It's insane. But it's basically just 4/4 line of Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam, and then you run a 4/4 line of Dunsparce and Dunsparce from Temporal Forces, the runaway draw, and you're just drawing cards. And so for you guys who don't know what Alakazam does, is just a single Psychic. You do 20 damage for every card in your hand. So you're just trying to get a massive hand and just swing for massive damage. Alakazam and Kadabra have an ability when you evolve Abra to Kadabra, you get to draw 2 cards. When you evolve Kadabra to Alakazam, you draw 3 cards. So you're drawing when you evolve, you're drawing with the Dunsparce, you're drawing with just all kinds of supporter cards. What I really love about the deck the most is you get to use a bunch of cards you don't really typically see, like Bill's Transfer from 151. So Bill's Transfer lets you look at the top 8 cards of your deck and take any amount of Pokemon you find there and put them in your hand. So if you find 6 Pokemon out of the 8 cards, all 6 of them go to your hand. So you're instantly doing 120 more damage with Alakazam. You also get to use things like Tulip, lets you pull any combination of 2 Psychic Energy and 2 Psychic Pokemon out of your discard pile, put them right back in your hand. So that's 4 more cards back to your hand. Use Miriam from Scarlet Violet Base, which I don't think anybody's ever used in a standard deck. That lets you shuffle 5 Pokemon from your discard pile back to your deck and draw 3 cards. So you're just drawing cards nonstop. And what I really love about it is a lot of people will use Iono in standard format to really mess with your opponent and disrupt their hand. But this deck just doesn't care. Because if it gets Iono'd, it just runaway draws with the Dunsparce, evolves to Kadabra, Alakazam. You're instantly back up to like a 12-card hand. And it's just insane how much draw is in the deck and just how fun it is to just constantly be drawing and taking like, I don't know, 20-minute turns, just drawing your deck nonstop. Very fun deck, single prize deck, so the prize trade-off is there. It cooks other megas. It'll cook a Mega Lucario, it'll cook a Mega Venusaur. You're doing 400 damage by like turn 4.
What's
If you play it
impressive
right.
about that is with the megas, that's 3 prizes. So
Yeah.
that is a tide turner with
Yeah.
a single prize Alakazam. When you're doing that much damage, you want to get something back when you finally take it down, and you're just not from this.
They don't see it coming either. It's pretty fun. I will say the one downside to the deck that I've found is um, if they happen to run like Xerosic or Hand Trimmer. For you guys who don't know, Hand Trimmer, both players cut their hand down to 5 cards. For Xerosic, your opponent discards their hand down to 3 cards. That can be just, you lose. It's like an auto loss if you get hit with a Xerosic and you've got a 20-card hand because you've just discarded half your deck. And it doesn't have a lot of stuff to get those cards back, unfortunately. So very rare to run into Xerosic or Hand Trimmer these days. A lot of control decks used to play those cards, but there aren't really any control decks out there right now. But if you do run into one, it might be a rough go. But it does run the Legacy Energy for its A spec as well, which when your Pokemon with the Legacy Energy gets knocked out, your opponent takes 1 less prize. So your single prize Alakazam is now worth 0 prizes, which is a lot of fun when you're swinging into 3 prize megas.
Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah. Something I do want to talk about with the meta outside of my favorite deck right now. The megas themselves. What I want to talk about is their reintroduction into the format. For those of you who've been playing for a while, will probably remember VMAX Pokemon from Sword and Shield. VMAXs are similar to Megas in the vein that VMAXs were worth 3 prizes as well, just like Megas are. I don't know that currently there's a Mega Pokemon that's strong enough to really compensate for the 3 prize trade-off. I know Mega Lucario is a lot of fun to play. A lot of people are running that currently with the rocks, which we'll talk about the rocks here in a little bit. But it's fun to get a big beefy Pokemon out there, but as soon as it goes down and you're instantly halfway through the game, like you've already lost the game, half the game, it's very painful. Like the 3 prize trade off, I don't know if it's worth you out there swinging into EXs, taking 2 prizes at a time. Especially when a lot of the Mega Evolution Pokemon have to be evolutions. Like, I think Mega Kangaskhan and Mawile are the only basics. I'm not sure on that.
They don't have as high of HP either.
Yeah, exactly. Latias, I guess, is a basic too. But yeah, so like you, not only do you have a 3 prizer out there, you have to get set up. You have to evolve to it most of the time. And then as soon as it goes down, you've got to do it all over again and evolve another one. And it's like, I don't know that the trade-off is really worth it just quite yet. It might be with Phantasmal Flames or in the future. But having said that, just because there's megas in the set doesn't mean you have to play megas.
Right.
The rocks. We got to talk about the rocks. Who remembers Radiant Greninja? Anybody? Radiant Greninja, discard an energy from your hand, draw 2 cards. Everybody played Radiant Greninja as their one Radiant they got in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. It was the Radiant card to have. It was just an instant draw engine for any deck. Kind of like Pheasant Skippity. TM. Pheasant Skippity. But, yeah, so Solrock and Lunatone. So they have to both be in play to be able to use each other. But they're basically a wombo combo. Because you get your Solrock that swings for 70 damage for just 1 energy, which hits like most basics like Riolu and Ralts and a lot of your like stage 3 or stage 2 Pokemon decks that people are running. And then the Lunatone, you discard a fighting energy from your hand and you get to draw 3 cards. Not 2 like Radiant Greninja, but you get to draw 3. The trade-off is you can only discard fighting energy, whereas Greninja would be any energy from your hand. So a lot of people are taking like Solrock and Lunatone and running it in Mega Lucario or putting it in Cynthia's Garchomp or kind of just throwing them in any deck they can as a draw engine, which that I would say that's the most impactful thing from Mega Evolution is the rocks so far.
I mean, not that they could have predicted this, but it would have been nice if we had some kind of alternate art for them just to
Yeah.
play around with. But
There's
one of the,
a there's a Lunatone stamped promo from pre-release.
well, there's something at least. Um, One of the things I wanted to talk about, speaking of the megas and their return, is the way you get them out now versus how you did before is very different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel as if this is almost making it more playable or less playable? I know we talked about the trade-off. It was always 3. But I feel like at the time, if you were to do this where you don't need that spirit link to get there, before where the cards were just not as powerful before, that would have been a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah.
But now it almost feels seamless to me. But as somebody who doesn't play as much as you, I'd love to hear your opinion on the difference in how you get them out.
So yes and no. Like the Spirit Links, it's kind of sad to not see them like stick to the origin story of Megas and all of that. But they kind of started dumbing things down back when they released V Pokemon. Like Charizard V is a basic Pokemon. You don't evolve to Charizard V. You just put down Charizard V on your bench, and then you evolve it to Charizard V Star. Same with like Charizard V into Charizard V Max when you Dynamax it. So I think they were really just trying to keep it simple and just keep it kind of dumbed down, and they didn't want to overcomplicate things with the Megas. So I think that's why they went the route they did, where it's just throw it in as a regular evolution line. I wouldn't have minded the Spirit Links or evolving from a Stage 2 into a Mega. I don't think that's so horrible, especially when you drop things like Forest of Vitality, where you can just insta evolve into a Stage 2 the same turn you put it down.
Mm-hmm.
Forest of Vitality is that stadium that only works the grass Pokemon, but when it's in play, you can just bang Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur all in the same turn, evolve instantly. So it would have been cool, but also I get why they did it. They probably just wanted to keep it simple. And there are a lot of new faces coming into the space, like we talked about last week with TCG Pocket and stuff. So they probably just didn't want to overcomplicate it. But I don't. As far as like how do I feel about it, I don't have a problem either way with it really. I think it's a little sad that we don't have Spirit Links anymore, but at the same time, I don't mind it. It's whatever.
On one of our previous videos, we got a comment from a viewer, and we want to go over this. It was a great question from, I have no idea who in the world this could possibly be, but username Kate the Baker asked us, I'd love to
Kate,
hear I'd love to hear your thoughts on market manipulation as well as an explanation for us that don't understand. We'd be happy to dive into that because that's something that's been a topic between Jack and I in our own personal conversations for far too long. And we're
oh
starting
yeah,
to see a lot of people post videos and brag online about how they're the ones doing it. But let's go over it. And I think the best example as of right now, speaking of Mega Evolutions, is Marshadow.
yep. Marshadow by 0313. The good old 0313. If you guys didn't know, that is the same artist who did that Minior back from Paradox Rift, I think it was.
Talk about an
Um,
underrated card.
yeah, very cool card. Be interesting to see what happens to that Minior after this Marshadow debacle. I think every set we get one illustration rare where everybody's like, "This is the one, right? This is the one we're gonna pump to high heaven and make it the most expensive card in the set, right?" Whether that's Magikarp, whether that's Eevee from Twilight Masquerade, whether that's Squirtle and Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown. There's just always one. And what better illustration rare to pump than the one with a hidden Pikachu in the bottom center of it behind the text of the card? So it's got some added flavor. It's not the first time that 0313 has done a Marshadow card with a Pikachu in it. There's another one from Cosmic Eclipse that also has a Pikachu kind of leaning in from the left side of the card, if I remember right. Which also, more market manipulation. That card went from a 20-cent card to now like a $12 card. I don't know if it's come back down yet or not. I do know the market is correcting finally on the Marshadow from Mega Evolution. That's down to like 58 now. It was up to like 90. But But that's kind of typical. A lot of the times, these pumpers will pick a card from a set, and they will try and manipulate the market, which I'll get into here in a second how they do that, to make that card a desirable card, a more desirable card, let's say. And a lot of the times, it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, you will see a market correction, like we're seeing with the Mars Shadow right now. It's stuck for, I don't know, 5 days, and now the market's kind of corrected itself and brought it back down. But there are so many ways people try and manipulate the market. The biggest way is what we call buyouts. They will go in, pick a Drowsy from Scarlet Violet base, and just buy all of them out for $8 a pop on TCG Player or whatever they're worth at the time. And you'll see it in the TCG Player graph. You will see as it starts to tick up in price, you will also see the amount purchased go up. And you'll see just like a giant chunk of them all go at once, and then the new price where it's at. So they'll buy out the card. Then they're the only ones that have the card. So they'll set the price and standard for what they think the card should be worth and list it on TCG Player at that price. And then boom, that Drowsy is now a $100 card instead of $8 card because they bought them all and they're the only ones that have them. And if you want one, you got to go through them. That happens a lot. Doesn't always stick. Sometimes they do that and they put their money on the wrong card, and people are like, you know what? I'm not paying $100 for that card. And when that happens, the market corrects itself because now they've got a ton of Drowsies that they've got to go and offload. So the market will start to dip back down, and they'll lower their price until they can find a price where, like, okay, $30, which I think is where the Drowsy ended up being, is where people feel like they should be paying for that card. Sometimes it does work. Sometimes it sticks. Magikarp, when that card first dropped, I mean, we all know how that went. Then the Shinji Kanda stuff. What's interesting is the Gardevoir from Mega Evolution. They had some market manipulation with that, which wasn't a buyout. It was like, I think it was like the second day of the set releasing. There were like 60 purchases for the Gardevoir SIR at $1 on TCG Player. So what that did is it drove the price all the way down. And so for about a day and a half, the market price on Gardevoir SIR on TCG Player was reflected as a $60 card. When really, we all know it's like a $300 card, right? It's fixed itself now, but there's other ways you can try and manipulate the market price of things. And I don't know if that was somebody just listing the same listing and buying it themselves with a bunch of different accounts at $1 a pop to lower the market price, or how, I don't know what their end game was with that. But somebody did something very similar a while ago with the Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, where they bought it out, a ton of them at like $1, and everybody saw the Moonbreon price stock went down, and everybody was freaking out, thinking, "Oh no, it's a crash!" But it was just market manipulation. So everybody has their own reasons for doing it. We don't always know what those reasons are. Most of the time, it's money related. Like 99% of the time, it's money related. But that's typically what happens with market manipulation, and how in most cases it's done via a buyout. In most cases, it's usually just for singles, but sometimes you will see it for sealed product as well.
But yeah, this does go back to that comment you made of setting your own market price. And what's interesting about sealed versus singles is you can see it in real time with singles, because one of the things about the singles market is people are very set on what they are willing to pay for something that they know it is. So one of the things I talked about with Kalen was the increase in mystery packs. And when you have sealed product, it's still a mystery. So people are kind of willing to pay a little bit more to get that high chase card. But when it's something that's a set, well, say it's the Vulpix illustration rare, say it's the Seismitoad, say it's whatever it is, they have an idea in their head of, yeah, I'm willing to pay this. And it happens a lot quicker because when people are trying to unload singles, they see it as fast cash. A lot of people look at their collection as a liquid asset versus sealed, where people tend to keep it over time. It is still liquid in their mind, but with how fast singles turn over of people building their collections of sealed versus the people building their collection of singles, the singles is just so much higher. So you're able to see that market correct itself a lot quicker. Or if the market manipulation works and it increases the value of a card that actually is a special piece of art, it'll stay high and it may never come back down. I mean, let's talk about the change in collecting, but you said it in the first episode that Latios GX tag team was $20.
Hmm.
Then people started collecting for how a card looked and actually didn't care about the game itself. You just got people collecting. That card skyrocketed. That card will never come back down.
It's interesting too because of the like I don't want to say it. It's like recycling, right? That
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon does. Because like tag teams, for instance, like tag teams, you could get tag teams for dirt cheap, and then out of nowhere, tag teams are just like hundreds of dollars. Like, dude, I got the Darkrai Umbreon and the Espeon Deoxys promos. I got those when I was in Indy for that regional at $30 and $40 respectively. And now they're like raw, they're like 100 something dollars. But then like the Mega set drops, right? And so now that Megas are being recycled, right? We get all the old Megas are going crazy. Like we talked about that Mega Mewtwo X last week that now is shot up because Megas are relevant again. Before that, it was 25th celebrations. Started shooting up all those cards because everybody knows the 30th anniversary is coming up. So, like the way Pokemon kind of like recycles the relevancy of their sets also impacts past cards, and that can help you as a collector kind of decide when it's the right time to pull the trigger on certain cards when you know that certain things are going to happen here pretty quickly in the future that could impact the value of these cards now. So that helps you determine like is now the right time to pull the trigger or am I okay to wait a little while still? But I always thought that was kind of interesting, the correlation there.
Well, whenever this happens and you have this influx of people buying, say, megas, say, tag teams, say anything, you have to really analyze what you want as a collector, too. So you don't, once again, I hate to bring back to it, but FOMO. You are going to FOMO all over again about cards that came out 5 years ago. FOMO never stops. It really just won't. When you have new sets come out, it's one thing, but when you are a singles collector, it can be almost worse, in my opinion, because like we've said about when you have sealed product coming out, the market eventually comes back and you can start to see them in stores again. But cards, they're out of printer, they're out of print. So once somebody
Yeah.
decides to pump one of these cards up, you might start to FOMO, and it's hard. It is really hard that somebody market manipulates a card that comes out now and it changes everything. As he said, the Marshadow that's the other half of the picture from Cosmic Eclipse is just $12 now.
Yeah,
That's
and it's that's a common card. It's not like a full art or anything. It's literally just one of the yellow borders, like regular Joe card. Yeah.
but that's the long effect of market manipulation is people will try not to FOMO over that card and they'll accidentally market manipulate something else that isn't that card that just has to do with it a little bit. So
Yeah. So
market
like let me ask you
manipulation.
this. Do you think when that Mars Shadow dropped that the average collector was like immediately flocking to that Cosmic Eclipse card, trying to pick that up as quick as they could and scrambling? Or do you think that market manipulators saw that Mars Shadow from Cosmic Eclipse and said, wow, this looks kind of familiar, and put A and B together and suddenly had C, where they decided they were going to preemptively buy it all out?
Yeah.
I think it's the latter.
Oh, it
And
has to be.
I don't think any collector had any clue that Mars Shadow from Cosmic Eclipse even existed until it got brought to light by market manipulators who put the social media posts out there saying, "Look at this Cosmic Eclipse Mars Shadow is taking off now." When really no one gave a shit. No one looked at it, you know?
Yeah, it was just another
And
card.
yeah, and it's still a cool card, like don't get me wrong, but it's not something where I was like, I got to go grab this like but now that it's $12, oh shit, I better go get that card. Like no, come on, guys, don't buy stuff just because everybody else is buying stuff.
Yeah, that's not acceptable now and it's not acceptable later. If you like the card, get the card. If you're in this to try and beat the financial aspect of market manipulation or try and catch that next fad, the people who are doing this are doing it for a living. They know what they're doing. One of the
Dude,
things I want to talk about this Marshadow market manipulation is the difference between Japanese and English.
yeah, good point.
Japanese market manipulation isn't really a thing. They want what they want, and it's going to be the price it is. So when you started to see the Marshadow go up to, I think I saw it at $100. The Japanese version of the same card didn't budge.
Hmm.
It started to a little bit now because I think a lot of English speaking people are grabbing the Japanese because they're here for the art and they finally figured it out. But that's what's so interesting is we're here to collect the art, and that's what this argument was about, was there's a hidden Pikachu in it. Yet the Japanese version didn't budge. It was $4 and didn't move, while the English was 100. Now I think the Japanese, it manipulated as Japanese does, and I think it's $7. But, and I think I've seen some sell for 20, but I think that's people who are English collectors just panicking. I think that is pure panic.
Yeah, I would agree. It's funny. I remember the Tyranitar dropping from Paldea Evolved, and everybody losing their mind over that. Before the Magikarp was the big card, it was the Tyranitar, and I got it in Japanese. I spent $3 on
Mm-hmm.
that card in Japanese, the Tyranitar, and it's still, I'm pretty sure, like a $6 card in Japanese. Um, but yeah, circling back to what you said about market manipulators and how there's like professionals that do this. I've seen Discord threads of people literally going out first thing in the morning and saying, "All right, guys, today our card target is Baxcalibur from Paldea Evolved. Everybody go buy all the Baxcaliburs." They literally have like coordinated movements that go do this stuff, and you can't control it. So don't even try. Don't worry about it. Like if it happens, it happens. It'll correct itself, just like the Mars Shadow did. There's no reason to freak out. But there are like legitimately groups that from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. at night decide they're going to buy out every single version of a card that they can, and then they're going to relist them all at 30% more market price or however high they want to try and get away with.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, man, you can't control everything. Just focus on what you control. If there's something you don't agree with, like the price of a card, chances are you're not the only one, and it'll correct itself. Don't worry.
Well, I hope our rant answered your question, Mystery Kate the Baker. And I hope that anybody else who has questions, feel free to ask us. We'll be happy to cover any questions you have about anything within this community in our next video, or maybe if it's something that's really important for that time, we'll get together and we'll put together a little short to put out for you guys just as like a PSA announcement. No, not PSA the grading company. Jack has his own opinions about that. Okay,
Sounds like a
that's
plan.
good. All right. This one sucks. Do you got something you want to say at the end? Because I had Kalen stare at the camera for 2 seconds. I'm like, you want to say something? He's like, nope. He looked at me and said, nope. I said, you got to say something.
That's funny. Yeah, I could try and close it out if you want me to. You can edit it out and do it
Yeah, why
your own.
not?
All right, guys, it's gonna do it for us here today on the hit list. We'll catch you next time with Big Mike, Capn Jack. Catch Kalen on Saturday coming up this week. And until next time, stay flaffy.